Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Matthew Killingsworth, who is actually my brother, and he's been working as an orderly. He changed his life. He used to be a mechanic, he used to be in a band, and he decided to do work to really help people and make a difference in the world. So let's hear his story. Welcome to the program, Matthew.
Thanks, Mirella. Thanks for inviting me. It's a bit of an honour.
Yeah, it's good that you're here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what inspired you at first to change from being a car mechanic to being a hospital orderly?
Well, you did a bit because when you experienced orderlies, you said that they were lovely people and that it was a great job. They were fit, they were healthy. So they were in an environment that was conducive to four great focuses of my life. Spiritual focus, financial focus, physical focus, and mentally a good focus.
Yeah.
So it's answered all of those questions for me.
Yeah, when I was in hospital, I remember like in the night, they'd come in and they'd turn you over and all this and that. I'd had my terrible injury, as you know. And I remember thinking they were like the light in the darkness, those guys. They were so beautiful, they were so warm. They always moved me very carefully, and they were filled with love and joy and happiness, and that was the only positive thing really I found in the hospital really at that time. And so that's good that you took it up from them, like you took up from my experience.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to be all of those that you described. Because
also sometimes people are at, in very critical conditions, so you're the one person that can make a difference in that moment, when you go and see them. You can be someone more cheerful and just sort of lift their spirits up a bit. And yeah.
Well, it's a good opportunity to put that effort in, and I find it comes a lot more naturally than any other job that I could think of.
So do you feel like it was a bit of a calling for you to do that kind of work?
Well, it's a bit of a blessing.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have survived too well in any other job, so it's helped me probably more than I've helped it.
Yeah. And have you had any difficulties in the job, or not difficulties, when people, have difficulties themselves? Do they share their difficulties, like their fear of dying or fear of their injury? And then do you have a position where you can do you feel when they're asking you for advice?
Well, absolutely. I mean, professionally, we're not really entitled to give a great deal of advice, but naturally, if somebody asks a question, you're on the spot. As a human being, you're going to try and think of something nice, something positive to say. Often I might reflect on other experiences that I could say something that I saw something positive that has happened that I've been able to convey to them.
Just to lift their spirit a little bit.
Yeah, for example, I could say, look, I've seen some amazing things happen in this hospital. I've seen some people really make some remarkable recoveries, and I'm sure you will too, where it's highly possible. Yeah.
Well, you've said that too, haven't you? You said you saw the people you thought they were going to die, and then they ended up just being okay, and they've
so a surprise as much to me as them.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, nobody really knows someone's future.
We don't.
You can't. No one is God. They can't say you're going to die in 5 months or whatever. You don't know. And have you had any funny stories at the hospital that you can share?
Well, when you work with that many people and that many different characters, there's always going to be something funny. I remember when I was quite new and I'm running around collecting items and pathology specimens and singing as I'm going and just grabbing. Sometimes you'll find a pathology specimen in a cup. And so I've just reached out there, I've grabbed the cup and I've raced down to pathology. And then a couple of hours later, there was a disgruntled patient complaining to his nurse, "Where's my teeth?" And then pathology rang my boss and said, "Do you realise your orderly delivered a cup with teeth in it and ice?" So I didn't really look. I just saw it was a cup with ice or water in it, and I've delivered it down to pathology. It just so happened to see this poor guy's teeth.
So then what happened? You had to take it back to him?
Yeah. We took it back, and I gave it to the nurse who was looking after him. And
oh, that's good. And also, you know, sometimes in the like tea breaks and whatever, I used to do a little bit of entertaining amongst the other nurses and doctors and orderly, just for a bit of light entertainment to change the heaviness and seriousness of their jobs.
Yeah. Well, no, I guess on the teeth subject, it reminds me of another teeth story.
Yeah.
There was one of our geezers who turned up once without his teeth.
He couldn't talk without his teeth.
So I went down to 7-Eleven and I bought him some rubber gummy lolly teeth. I said, "I found your teeth, mate."
Oh, that's so cute. You gave him some gummy lolly teeth. What did he say?
He cried with laughter, and then he couldn't help it. He put them in.
Oh, that's so gorgeous.
So, yeah, he used them for a while. It made it look like he had teeth.
Oh, that's so funny. Gee, you took the time out to go and do that. And sometimes also in your work, you've worked back when you didn't need to work back as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we're not particularly allowed to, but unfortunately sometimes once you've started something, it's not really appropriate to stop. And, you know, we've got to finish what we start, and it's easy for us to go home. The patient doesn't get that opportunity. So we'll try and do our best to have them comfortable. Plus the nurses, you know, they need to hand over to new nurses or the morning shift nurses or whatever the next shift is. They need to hand over respectfully with their patient. It's not going to look good on them if they hand over an unkempt patient who hasn't been cared for or cleaned. It doesn't do anyone any favours, so it's really no skin off my back to do whatever I can.
And how many years now have you been an orderly?
Oh golly, I never really count very well, but I think it's over 16.
Yeah, wow, so it's been quite a while. And you were a mechanic before that. What was it about mechanics that you've been passionate about cars since you were like 5? So, as I know.
Yeah.
But what attracted you to becoming a mechanic, just to our viewers?
Well, it's a job of great necessity. You need to be able to maintain your vehicle. You don't want to come unstuck and not be able to know what's going on with your vehicle. I remember, you know, back when we were kids, if, you know, we had to rely on the RACV quite often for old cars not working properly. So I thought I want to be a little bit more above that situation.
Oh, good. I will talk a bit more about that when we get back. You're watching NAT Chat. We'll see you again after this break.
The tax office can take money directly out of people's accounts, but you're not allowed to know. The elderly are being abused and neglected in nursing homes, but you're not allowed to know. The government can raid journalists for reporting the truth if it says you're not allowed to know. It couldn't happen in Australia. It's happening now. When the government hides the truth from you, what are they covering up? Authorised by Australia's Right to Know, Sydney.
This season, we need your help to control Queensland fruit fly in our region. Your infested fruit is destroying your neighbour's harvest and the livelihood of our orchardists and their families. Pick up and dispose of fallen fruit. Infected fruit in your backyard is a breeding ground for fruit fly. Monitor fruit fly numbers by hanging traps in your fruit trees. Traps can be purchased at your local hardware stores. Net your fruit trees and susceptible vegetables with fruit fly specific netting. Contact us for information.
Would your life be different if you chose to swim between the flags instead of that unpatrolled beach? If you'd checked the depth before you dived into shallow water, if you didn't swim under the influence of alcohol and chose not to swim at night, if you only listened to the lifesavers warnings.
Make the right choice this summer. Enjoy our beautiful beaches. Always swim between the red and yellow flags.
If we can't see you, we can't save you.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich and I'm interviewing my brother today, Matthew Killingsworth. He's talking about his life and his career and all the fun things he's doing and important things he's doing in his life. Welcome back to the program, Matthew.
Thank you, Mirella.
It's so easy, isn't it? So tell us, how do you deal with the suffering and the difficulties in that job? Because it's quite an intense job because, you have to see people die. You make friends with people and you're talking to them and then they might not be there the next time you go and see them, and then even you've got to take them to the morgue. I mean, it would be just, I can't even imagine you doing that actually, because you're my brother. I just can't imagine it. So how do you deal with that?
Well, you've got to focus on the importance of it. With the suffering, the pain and suffering, okay, that's very sad to have people suffer. So that becomes its own inspiration to try and help as much as you can within the parameters of your job. When it comes to, delivering people to their final resting place, we have to consider the other patients. It's not pleasant. We don't like to be dealing with the deceased, of course, but we have to think of the other patients. We have to get them out of that environment, because otherwise it becomes a very unpleasant environment for the patients who are still there living. So there's no questions about it. It has to be done and we do it.
And how do you deal with that in yourself, like to sort of, I suppose it's a reality of, maybe you're used to it now. I mean, I suppose it's only been 17 years that you've been doing it, 16 and a half years, but...
I find it's nothing you ever get used to.
Okay.
It's something you always attack with your best abilities at each time.
Yeah. I remember once years ago you were telling me this experience where you were going in there and some of the boys or some of the other people were talking and you said, shh, respect, we need to be respectful of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I thought that's lovely, just to lead a good example, because everyone can, love in their workplace and make a difference, can't they?
Yeah. And also, I mean, we always try and focus, I always try and focus and express to others that we never know when family members may be watching us. So always keep that in mind also.
That's beautiful. And where do you've also started a gym. You've made it look like a home gym. But tell us about your home gym, because you've got like gym equipment everywhere. So when you're going in the kitchen, you can do a stretch and a backflip, and tell us all about that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Every orderly complains about back pain. In fact, probably every manual labourer complains about back pain. So when I go home, I devise different methods of how to deal with back pain, mainly focusing on back strengthening.
Yeah.
So there's just bits and pieces that I may have found and welded together. I've got some handlebars and chains and a lot of pulleys in different areas.
And you built a whole gym in your backyard as well, like out in the sun.
Yeah, pretty much. Under the patio, and a few bought pieces of equipment as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of resistance tube. That's good stuff to use.
And tell us about your time in a rock band, how that was. Because you were very charismatic as the lead singer. Tell us about that experience. Yeah,
well, that was great fun. Once again, that was something that came very naturally to me, to be able to write songs and then try to sing them. And I was with a bunch of really great musos, actually. I could almost take it for granted at the time how talented they were. But no, they were very talented guys.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun. We made some music that I think sounded quite great.
Yeah. Would you ever think of giving that a go again as like a bit of a hobby, or even doing it seriously?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I work most Saturday nights, so to be in a band you probably need to be available on Saturday nights, which I'm not. But, you know, there's possibilities around that.
Yeah, well, they have those open mic nights, I think on Tuesday nights, I think at some places, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that
there's some
sounds like
places
fun.
they do.
Yeah.
So you could get the guys together and just sort of do it for a bit of fun, a bit of a catch-up. And
Yeah.
I mean, if that was something you were passionate about.
Yeah, well, it's always good fun to do. It's also very healthy to sing.
Yeah, for your lungs.
You know, I don't know if everybody knows this, but it's one of the best exercises you can do.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, you know, if you want to sing along with Barnsey or something,
Yeah.
you're really using your abdomen.
Yeah,
And you're using basically all of your body and
Yeah.
your breathing, of course.
yeah.
You're standing up, your posture,
Mm.
and the endurance
Yeah.
of going through a song. You're pretty puffed and tired after
Yeah.
that.
Because you used to get into Barnsley's songs, didn't you?
Oh, I love Barnsey.
Yeah.
Still love Barnsey. In fact, I've got the latest Cold Chisel album,
Yeah,
which we thought they'd split up 20, 30 years ago.
yeah.
But that'll never happen.
They're kind of like an iconic Australian band, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're still my fave, so.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And what are your hopes for the future from here? What sort of things do you hope to do?
Oh, well, I hope we get enough sun.
Yeah.
I like to have a bit of sunlight. Hopes for the future.
Stay in Audley? Will you keep doing Audley work, or you
Yeah,
keep doing that and then just maybe do singing on the side or something every now and
yeah,
then? for a
probably.
hobby?
If somebody puts it to me that, you know, they want to put a band together, I'd probably consider it.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine myself, you know, trying to set it up myself.
yeah. And you're also inspired to do the Audley work because our mama was sick, and that was another thing that inspired you as well. Because I remember after she passed, you said to me, look, this is what I want to do. I want to change my life, and I want to be an Audley and really help.
Mm.
So that
Yeah,
was some other
absolutely.
divine inspiration there.
Like you were the initial inspiration,
Yeah.
but then the failure to launch, the fear of
Didn't
leaving,
happen. Yeah, security of the job.
fear of leaving the job to go on to the unknown
Yeah.
of a job that I wasn't sure how well I'd go.
Yeah,
You know, that was there for years. So I mean, I said I'd be an orderly for years and never really made the transition.
yeah,
But then, of course, you know, unfortunately losing Mama, it was you think differently. You know, all fears were gone, and I thought, well, I'm going to make a big change now. Already a change has happened, the biggest change, you know, most people will experience.
yeah.
And so then I thought, well, it can only get better from here. So
Yeah.
I made the change, and I was so glad.
Maybe Mama helped you from heaven to push us both, because you asked me to help you to write something up and
Yeah, well, probably.
about it. Yeah, and
Probably.
then you took the leap of faith.
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky that it worked out well for me.
Yeah. And do some of the patients ever come back into the hospital to see you after you've helped them through a crisis, a difficult time in their lives, and they've, you know, lived to tell the story?
Well, I don't think they particularly come back to see me, but I'm sure people do have to
Come back and say hi.
have some
Yeah.
return visits for whatever medical reasons.
Yeah.
So you do see people more than once.
Yeah. Right, we have to go to a break now, Matthew. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
Joy, well-being, community, inclusion.
Special Olympics is a global movement for people with an intellectual disability, creating a world of inclusion and community through sport, where every person is accepted and welcomed, regardless of ability. One athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time, helping to make the world a better place. Join the inclusion revolution by supporting Special Olympics.
And choose to include.
Here is some brilliant news for adults who have difficulties with spelling, reading a newspaper or phone bill, or writing letters and emails. It can be easier to improve your reading and writing skills than to keep putting it off. Take the plunge. Call the Reading Writing Hotline 1300 650506.
1300 650506.
It could change your life.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week. Time's up.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Matthew Killingsworth, who is my brother, one of my brothers. I have 4 brothers. And we're talking about his work as an orderly and having compassion in the workplace. And he used to be a singer in a band, and he's a car mechanic a little bit on the side. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mirella.
So you're a sort of an average Australian guy, and a lot of Australian guys are sort of, you know, it's just a good thing to talk about compassion because you're in a field where compassion is needed, working in the hospital with people in, you know, in a very delicate position. So can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on compassion and just being human, really, in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everyone would agree with you on the average Australian guy, but yeah, a compassion in the workplace. Well, I think every workplace you need to have some compassion for the people you work with. It probably is lacking in a lot of areas. Our job as doctors, nurses, and orderlies, yeah, we're naturally expected to, of course, be in a position of having compassion for our patients. And but I think your question's posted to the other workers. Is that what you mean?
No, but just even in your field, like in your field, what encourages you to be compassionate? I mean, it's natural, you have to be compassionate, but in your everyday life as well, how does it come through?
Well, I suppose it's probably our upbringing.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, can I say acts of kindness? If they're coming naturally to you, then obviously you try and do as many acts of kindness as possible.
Yeah. It's, I guess, yeah, living as a good person in the world, really. I mean, if everybody lived in the workplace and did acts of kindness in the workplace and they didn't think about themselves, there would be so much harmony everywhere.
Oh, well, that's a lovely thought, yeah. And it's true.
Yeah, like even on the road when you're driving.
Yeah.
You know, just to have harmony for the other drivers. Pray for the other drivers as they're driving. Pray for the ones that are angry on the road, you know, that they get peace. Because if you pray for people to have peace, then you win as well because there's more peace in the world.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel like they deserve a prayer from you, you actually win because there's more peace in the world.
Yeah, no, you do have to be compassionate to drivers on the road to maintain some harmony. I remember in Scotland seeing a sign saying, "Aloof are overtaken as frustration causes accidents."
And now in English?
Well, so you can see the importance of that. That's being compassionate to the other driver. Let them overtake if they need to. Don't block them, get them frustrated, and then they'll do something desperate.
Yeah, allow for overtaking, is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a little bit different on speed limits than what we are here in Australia. We're quite restricted here. Everybody's expected to drive very slowly.
Yeah.
But there you open it up a little bit better.
And what was one of the best countries you were in when you went overseas?
Ireland.
Ireland. Oh, really? I haven't been to Ireland.
And Italy.
And Italy.
Yeah, Italy was lovely.
Yeah. And what was one of the favourite things that happened to you on your holidays, or one of the fun things, or something something memorable?
Favourite part of the holiday would have been this big thump, and it was like, "Welcome back to Australia." So, yeah.
I kind of love that too. When I was travelling and I got back to the airport, and for some reason our accent sounded so obvious. Like the guy comes up and goes, "How you going? Have a good trip?" I was thinking, "Wow, it's good to be home."
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're employed particularly because of that.
Okay.
I'm sure they're employed particularly because of their accents and their welcoming sounds.
Well, I remember when I was in Italy, someone was saying to me, this is probably one of the first times when I was, I don't know, maybe I can't remember, 20 or something, and someone said to me, I heard that Australian accent, so I wanted to say hello, and I was thinking, I haven't got an Australian accent, I didn't think I had an accent.
Okay.
Because if you don't hear yourself, overseas or whatever, you don't I thought I spoke normally. I thought Australians spoke normally. Everyone else had an accent.
No, accent's a funny thing, and Australians definitely do have an accent because we don't pronounce everything correctly as it's written.
Yeah.
So we have ways of pronouncing things because it's traditional for us.
Yeah.
But some English accents will pronounce things as they're written.
Yeah. I remember when I was travelling, I was driving up to Queensland and I went into this outback of Australia, right in the outback. I went into just like a little shop, the petrol station and the shop there to get something to eat. And the guy that served me, he was Asian, and this is how he spoke to me. I thought he'd have a Chinese accent or something, but he spoke to me like this, "How you going, mate? How you going? You want me to fill up your petrol?" I thought, it's so cute. It was so cute because he's probably been generations and generations in Australia, but he's picked up the accent, obviously.
Well, it just shows truly what Australian heritage is. Yeah. It's not just the Anglo-Saxons and...
It's everybody, yeah.
There's a lot, yeah, well, especially from in the north of Australia, there would have been the Indonesian migration and other Asian nationalities that migrated many, many years ago.
Yeah, so it makes up for a colourful country. But the trick is for everyone just to have compassion for one another, really.
Yeah.
In life, it doesn't matter who they are, what nationality they are, what religion they are. We just need to have compassion for each other, and that's the thing that speaks volumes, I think, in the world. If we just care, simply care for one another. It's not a hard thing to do, to let someone go through when it's their turn to go through. And if people wave at you when you let them go through now, and it's their right to go through. And it's nice that they wave, and it's good to wave back. I think that's also really lovely.
Yeah.
And on the road, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so, what was Ireland what did you like so much about Ireland?
I think it's just a lot easier for an Australian to get around Ireland than a lot of other places. You speak the same language and similar sort of culture.
Yeah.
Good cleanliness and hygiene and just all the things you expect. Good service, good food, good accommodation, good roads.
And England? Did you
nice
like England?
people.
You went to England as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't like that very much.
I love England.
I'm sure it's a lovely place, but you went probably a few decades before me.
I found England just like Melbourne. It felt like Melbourne. It felt pretty much like Australia, but it was colder. Winter was heaps colder.
Yeah.
That was really standing. That stood out to me. And Ireland, I haven't been to Ireland. Scotland was hilarious. I like Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, love the accent in Scotland.
Yeah, haven't they got lovely accents?
All right, well, thank you for coming on the show, Matthew. It's been a joy to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Morella. I think you big-noted me a little bit. At the end of the day, I'm only just a whatever I am.
You're my sweet little brother.
Oh, thank you.
All right, you've been watching NAT Chat. I hope you enjoyed the program. See you again soon.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Mark Roos, who's been a TV producer for about 30 years, working on TV and film, and he's also won an AFI award, among many other awards for his work. Welcome to the program, Mark.
Hi, Mirella.
Good to have you back again.
Yeah, good to be back.
You don't look a week older.
No, a lot's happened last week.
Okay, so you've been working on something really quite amazing recently, this documentary called Politics for Unity. We really love our audience to hear about it and hear more about it myself as well. So could you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, look, it was a documentary, a half-hour documentary made for the internet, for release on the internet, which a lot of programs are nowadays. And it's basically, it was a documentary about a group of politicians or people involved in politics around the world who are trying to work for the good of the world, but in a really interesting way. They have this philosophy. Two things came out of it from what they were talking about. One was this idea that it was based on the Golden Rule, which is that idea that we treat each other the way we'd like to be treated. But they had taken it one step further and were interested in the concept of treating each other, different peoples or different nations or different political parties, treating them the way our party or our nation would like to be treated. And there's another concept they had which I thought was fantastic, which was the concept that there's the old French thing, equality, liberty, fraternity, which is all of Europe and the Western world is based on those principles. And equality and liberty have been understood and fought for, and wars been fought out, but the idea of fraternity, which is universal brotherhood, is a new one really, and it's sort of the idea of this video was that the time for that's come, that the way we treat one another as people is important. Not only freedom, not only equality, but the way that we relate to each other. So yeah, I went around the world talking to these people that I'd researched who were really into living those concepts. And there were some amazing people, like there was the ex-president of Italy, the head of the European Union, there was the president of Greece, there was the Hungarian ambassador to America, and they all had amazing experiences. How they tried to pull this in. There was a mayor I spoke to, the mayor of a place in Italy, and he believed that his job was to work for the people. And there's a lot of corruption in Italy, and he was very much against it. So what he used to do every day, he had his own website, and he'd set it up, and it was available for all the people in the town to look at, and he'd type out what he was going to do that day. Okay, today I'm having a meeting with the rubbish collectors, I'm doing this and that and the other thing, and this is how much money I'm spending. And at the end of the day, he would report back what had happened, if he was successful, how much money he'd spent, totally transparent. And there was just one experience after the other of these people at very high level. There was a lady in the Philippines, a prosecutor, who was bringing in paedophiles and risking her life for her clients. There was a fantastic experience of these two people in America who had been married for 50 years or something. They were quite elderly, but they hadn't realised when they were married that they both had completely opposite political opinions. One was for the Democrats and one was for the Republicans, and they were very passionate about it. And yet they wanted to have a relationship between them, so that all their whole life they had to try and work out how to do it. And that was amazing. They had a house, and when it was election time, they would put a line down the house, and one side would have all the Republican literature, the other side would have all the Democrat literature.
Wow.
And they were that passionate. But at the same time, they respected each other, and they really, as two people and as husband and wife, really tried to love one another and overcome, even though not sacrificing their ideals. That's this idea, and I thought it was fantastic. So the documentary was about that.
Yeah, I saw bits of it. I was sort of at the back, and I couldn't really see because it had subtitles, and I couldn't see all the subtitles. But what I saw was just so uplifting, like beyond unbelievable. It's something that everybody needs to see right now. I really believe that because of what's happening in the world today. I thought this is something really it'll give them faith back into politicians as well, and people in higher power, high powers in the world. It's just phenomenal.
Well, there was some great stories. Like there was the story of a group of politicians in Korea who got together and tried to put this into practice, the idea of having mutual respect. 5 years ago, and I don't know if you've seen, but there used to be these scenes on the internet of these politicians in Parliament who were hitting each other, physically fighting each other, and it was them. And these exact politicians said, no, it's enough. We have to have respect for one another. That's important, as well as much as our passions and our beliefs. The way we treat each other is important too. And they spent about a year, and now they've solved that problem.
Isn't that amazing? So they're not bashing each other up on the TV
they
anymore.
Stopped the fighting.
That's so crazy. That's really getting out of hand.
Yeah.
I mean, even in our politics, when they have the politics, you know, the stations,
Yes.
when you see them fighting with each other, you think, is this for real?
Yeah. It's this thing that we need to really, that I learnt from making the documentary, that we need to really concentrate not only on our beliefs, but also, which are good beliefs, but also the way how we treat each other and how countries treat each other and how peoples and races treat each other. That's an important part of politics, and it was nice to see that this idea is coming up. And honestly, we see a lot of bad news every day in the news, but there's a lot of good news that doesn't get told, and this was sort of part of that.
See, this should be headlining the news.
Yeah.
Really should be, just to see that these people are really making a difference, and they're trying to build love one another in politics as well, and love each other for, you know, whoever you are, whatever race, colour, creed you are. The only way we're going to get along is if we just love each other. It doesn't matter what we believe. There's no other way we're going to get along, and the only way we're going to be happy is if we love each other.
That's right. And look, you know, there's lots and lots of stories of that happening around the world. Unfortunately, the news becomes a little bit like entertainment.
Yeah.
So in entertainment, drama and conflict is the thing that entertains us. So unfortunately, that's the news has turned into entertainment. So therefore, the news doesn't get told, and the news is quite a lot of good news as well as bad.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because if they're just thriving on drama, there's no need. It's terrible because it depresses people.
Yes, that's right. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
That kind of drama. Anyway, we have to go to break, but we'll talk more about that.
Sure.
You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together. We can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
Here's to the straggly ones. The lopsided ones. The first ones. The I miss my big ones. The hey, I look good with this ones. He's never grown that in them weak ones. The black, brown, red, and grey ones. The, oh, whoa, that one. The itchy ones. The never forgotten ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The started late ones. The absolutely filthy ones. The drawn on ones. The finger ones. The badge ones. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the yeah, why not ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.com.
Show Me The Way creates the first social networking sites for Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. With secure online mentoring, Show Me The Way supports students to complete their schooling and continue to TAFE, university or vocational education. Show Me The Way connects students with e-mentors from corporate Australia. With secure online mentoring, Show Me The Way supports students to complete Year 12. To donate, visit showmetheway.org.au.
Hello and welcome back to Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Mark Roos, who is a TV and film producer, has been for over 30 years and has won AFI awards and many other awards, and he's recently made an amazing documentary which he's talking to us about right now. Welcome back to the program, Mark.
Right.
So can you tell us the name of the documentary again for the viewers?
Yes, it was called Politics for Unity, and look, if people want to watch it, it's on YouTube. You can look it up any time. It's in various languages. You just need to find the English language version of it because it was made for the internet.
Beautiful. So anyone can watch it.
Anyone can
and
watch
access. How long is it? Do you know how long it
It's
goes
about, I think it's about 25 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes long, yeah.
Well, it's way better than watching the news. It's way better than anything you'll see on TV.
Yeah.
I think it's just an amazing documentary.
Well, there's some amazing people that I met that did it.
Amazing people, yeah.
Like there was another story I didn't mention, which was very powerful. I went and interviewed the mayor of Bethlehem for Christmas, the home of Christmas, which is a Palestinian territory, surrounded by walls, where the Jewish soldiers check everybody that goes in and out.
So you physically went there yourself?
Physically went there, and Palestinians who live in Bethlehem are never allowed out, ever.
Wow.
So if you're born there, you can't go to university, you can't even get health care. It's quite strictly controlled. So there's a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of ill feeling between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I went through the checkpoints, and it's pretty scary. So the story was beautiful, though, because it was a story of the mayor there who had subsequently, about 10 years ago, gone outside to give a talk, and it was in the Jewish, but in Israel, she was giving a talk, and they were heckling her, and it was quite uncomfortable. She was quite uncomfortable, and there was a Jewish lady there who sort of believed in these principles of that it was important as part of her life and her religion as a Jew, the way she treated other people. And she was quite uncomfortable seeing this person, even though she didn't agree with them at all, being heckled. She went up to them later. She went up to a lady and she apologised to her. She said, look, I'm sorry that I feel for you. Anyway, they both burst into tears. And because they both suffer in their lives a lot. And out of that came a sort of they both sat down and talked for hours and told their whole life stories, and they become really close friends.
Yeah.
And now for the mayor of Bethlehem to be friends with the Jewish ladies, it's sort of not done, and you can't really do it, and you can't visit. You're not allowed to have anything to do with each other.
So they're not even allowed to if they want.
So they had to have this hidden friendship.
Oh my God.
And they used to sometimes, I think, smuggle each other in and out, and I'm not sure how it happened, but anyway, they kept it secret for quite a while because it was a difficult relationship to have. But that was all based on just concern and care for one another and treating each other as they would have, and sharing their suffering together rather than fighting. So that was another wonderful experience.
Imagine if everyone got that.
Yeah, well, look, there's a very inspiring story that that inspired me to try a bit better in my own life. To do the way to treat people properly. To treat them the way I'd like to be treated. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, then you find peace with people.
Yeah,
when you treat them like that, even if you don't agree with all the things they agree with, at least you have this common, unspoken peace between
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, it's like there was another person I spoke to who ran a business in America, and he had the philosophy that it was important the way the thing about what was important about his business was the way he treated his customers rather than making money. Of course, he had to make a living and he had to make money, but his number one priority was the way he treated people. And so he put the customers first, and sometimes that would be perhaps doing something a bit better or to the detriment of earning the money, but that was his way of doing things. And in fact, the business was thriving because everyone loved
him. Yeah.
And he then put the money into the local community so he treated the local community better than most of the businesses who would just look for the cheapest way of buying things. But he believed in investing in the local community. And there's a whole new way of looking at the economy and money that he believes in, and it's all based on this idea that you put people first. That was another very inspiring story. Anyway,
that's beautiful.
It's worth having a look at.
You won't spoil it, I guess. And also, you tell us. Well, anyway, if people want to look at it, how can they look at it?
Well, it's online, so you just look up Politics for Unity in YouTube, and find the English language version of it, and it's there.
Beautiful. And also, tell us about your experience. You actually were making a TV series in Bangladesh through the BBC.
That's right. A few years ago, I got a contract from the BBC to go and make a drama series in Bangladesh
Wow.
for the local television, and it was an interesting experience. The idea of the drama series was that they wanted to have a full-scale drama series, but about stories which would inspire the people to live their health life better, particularly maternal health. Because for instance, they have a big problem because people are getting married at 12, and that's not very good for you when you're having kids at 13 or 14. The body can't handle it, and there's a lot of simple things that can be improved by just education. And it's one thing to tell people; it's another thing to put into drama series, and you can teach people. People can go through on journeys with characters and see what happens to these characters, and that's the way that television works. So yes, it was a very interesting experience. It was to make it in another language and with different people. But the most interesting thing was that it happened to be the election year. So what happens in some of these countries, in particular Bangladesh, where there's an election year, the two parties basically fight it out on the streets. So there was all sorts of clashes and demonstrations and bombs and stuff going all around us. So we had to make this thing in the middle of all this chaos.
Oh my God.
And we weren't allowed out of our houses a lot of the time, and it was quite difficult to actually do physically because of all this strife going on. But it was a beautiful country. They're beautiful people, very poor. But I think they're number one on the happiness index.
They're bashing each other and bombing each other. That doesn't make
that's
sense.
just politics. I mean, the people aren't like that.
Yeah.
The people at home are not like that at all. It's just that they've only been a country for 30 or 40 years, and they're still working out how to do politics. It's not as if it was a war.
Yeah.
It's just a sort of figuring out how you. There's two dynasties going on there that have formed, and countries that are 30 years old.
Yeah.
Have a few problems to sort out.
Oh wow, we've worked on some amazing things.
Yeah.
We'll have to go to a break now, but we'll talk more when we get back. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
So, you think you're ready for this?
To take on the world? Why not?
You're there when they can't sleep. You're there when they forget. But who's there when they're at school? Asthma can be serious. It affects 1 in 10 Australians and claims 400 lives each year. Does anyone at your school know what to do in an asthma emergency? Log on to asthmafriendlyschools.org.au and find out if your school is asthma friendly. Shouldn't every school be asthma friendly?
We always liked to play chess together ever since we were little. He was always a better player than me. When I was diagnosed with Pompei's disease in 2002, I was told that my life expectancy was going to be poor, and my condition deteriorated rapidly before I was able to start treatment. My brother and I both suffered from the disease. But now I consider myself the fortunate one. My brother spent the last 2 years of his life in hospital. He didn't have access to this wonderful treatment that should be available to everybody. The world just keeps getting smaller as you progressively lose the ability to walk. So your world shrinks, and then gradually you realise, I haven't been to the supermarket in 6 months. I'm 59 now, and every year I can see my daughter grow up is a blessing. I believe my treatment's made this possible.
To learn more and help those living with Pompei's disease, register at australianpompey.com.
Juggling work and caring for Mum can be overwhelming. Having an understanding employer and access to support helps. I love my mum. I just wish I had some time to myself.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Mark Roos, who is a TV producer and has been for 30 years now, and a film producer as well. And he's talking about his career and things that he's been working on, and the AFI awards he's won, and many awards he's won. Welcome back to the program.
Oh, well.
I said AFI awards, but you only won one AFI award, didn't you?
Yes.
But many other awards.
Yes, that's right, yes.
So you've had a very, very colourful career, and I'm sure many, many years to come of more beautiful work. So would you like to talk a little bit about the highs and lows, because people just think, oh, it's such a glamorous life, you've got this, you've got it all, you're working on all these fantastic shows, you're so lucky. You know, people who maybe want to do that, but they're sort of a little bit scared to enter into it.
Well, producers are really a little bit like, well, they are entrepreneurs. So the highs and lows of being an entrepreneur really is that you're either in a desert or in a situation where you're overwhelmed. So you're trying to get something going. It takes a lot of time to generate a new show, a new film, a new TV series, and that tends to be the low point of that, is that you're worried about earning an income, you're worried about trying to get something going, and you generally have to generate these projects off your own steam, with your own funds. And yes, it's a sort of the downfalls of being a startup or an entrepreneur, is that's difficult. The high points are when you get something going, and it's very exciting to actually be having a project that you've got, and you've got the finance and you're going and it's all happening. That's happened. But you do have, you know, these very big peaks and troughs. They have good sides. When you're doing the entrepreneuring side, you're often involved in the writing and development of a show, so that's quite fun, where you actually create it. And from nothing comes an idea, comes a story, comes characters. That's a really high point for me, is when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So it's either all very exciting or very worrying, or very stressful.
And then how do you deal with the lows and the stress?
Oh, look, I think you tell me. I still haven't. It's not easy. I mean, it's easy to say that you find ways of doing it, but it's just not easy. You just need to be able to keep your eye on the ball and keep in mind what's important for you in life, which is, for me, is a lot to do with my relationships with the people that I'm working with my family, with people that I meet. Keep your eyes on the important things and your values, and that gives you a bit of a balance.
Yeah, so you don't lose yourself.
That's right, yes.
Lose your focus.
Yes, that's right. Yes, exactly.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And what are some things that you're working on right now?
Oh, look, we're developing a few things. One's a very interesting one is we bought the rights to this book called The Forgotten Heroes of Eureka. And it's the story, Eureka is a story, I don't know if you know, back in the 1850s, where of the gold rush in Ballarat in Victoria. And it's a very interesting time, because at that time in Australia, we're a very new country. There was hardly anyone here. And suddenly the gold was discovered. So people came from all over the world. In New York, in London, everyone was only talking about one thing, was Ballarat, Victoria, Melbourne. And everyone just rushed. And it was very interesting, because in Europe it was a time of there was a lot of wars going on. It was a very structured sort of tight society with classes, and the place of women was not good. Women were second-class citizens, not considered. They were just chattels. They were men's belongings. They didn't have the vote. And there was a lot of Australia, Victoria, Ballarat was the exciting place to be. They used to call it, let's go and see the elephant. And that was an expression for let's go and see the elephant in the circus. It was the exciting thing to do. And coming to Ballarat was going to see the elephant. And there were all the rules and strictures of Europe were thrown away. Women had a much better sort of... What was important was not who you were, not whether you were a man or a woman, not whether you were upper class or lower class. It was, did you find the gold or didn't you? And there was a whole new sort of thing happened in the world. And the Australian character, to some extent, started being formed out of that time. And that period ended up in a big massacre of the English soldiers who quashed a rebellion against having to pay these mining licenses that the diggers had. But just to say that was a period where the Australian character started to be formed. It's what it meant to be Australian. And this is a story, particularly from a woman's point of view, of how women influenced the formation of the Australian character. So we're making a drama series about this event, about that period, and about the rebellion that happened, which was very interesting. Fight against injustice.
Gee, that's interesting. When will this one be coming out?
I'm not sure. We're just at the very beginning of the process. We've just bought the rights to the book by Claire Wright, who's a very well-known and brilliant Australian historian.
Gee.
And together with us, we're starting to write the scripts.
So it's going to be, what's it going to be, a movie or?
No, it'll be a television series.
Television series. This is wonderful. It's going to be on commercial TV for everybody?
We're not sure yet. We're
Free
still
to
at
air?
the early stages of, we don't know where it'll be on.
It sounds like something we need now, something like
Yes,
that, just to to see where we all came from, how was our beginnings in Australia.
But particularly the place of women. That's what's really exciting about it, because that hasn't been done before. History's always been seen as a male thing.
Yeah.
What did the men fight for? What the heroes were all men.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not true. In Ballarat at that time, I think 80% of the people were under 30. And 40% of them were women. So that was Australia at that time.
Right, okay. Well, it's beautiful that you're going to do a program that elevates women and women in history.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be...
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, well, it's been wonderful having you on the program to get all this wealth of information from you. One other thing I want to ask was, when you're doing shows, do you choose the actors and for documentaries, you choose the people to be hosts and whatever you do? Is that part of your role?
It's certainly a part that we lead, the producer leads. It's done by, depends on the project, but normally it's done by a group of people who have an input into it.
Yeah.
The director normally has the biggest say.
Yeah.
The producer has some say also in the roles.
Yeah.
So it's done together, but lots of other people have a say too. For instance, if you're making something for a television network, they have to approve it. Or the distributor, in the case of a film, often has to, the financiers, they all have to approve who it is.
All right, well, it's been a joy having you here, Mark. Thanks for coming on the program.
We've
come to an end.
No worries. Nice to talk to you.
You too, thank you. You've been watching NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and our guest was Mark Roos. And don't forget to look on YouTube for Politics for Unity. You will not regret it, I guarantee that. See you again soon.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe, warm and dry? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme. Om. Allah. Sat
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with Tommy Canning, a Christian contemporary sacred artist from the Catholic tradition. Thanks, Tommy. Last week we were talking about the image of divine mercy, and you were kind enough to describe some of the implications of it and the depth of the imagery, which sort of raises the question of transcendence, because that's what sacred art in part is to do, isn't it? Is to transcend. I think Pope Benedict had something to say about that, and
it's true, yeah. I could share a quote with you. It was a very interesting thing he said in regard to beauty in general and sacred art in particular. And this quote, which really spoke to me very much, it's very profound words. And he said that beauty, whether that of the natural universe or that expressed in art, precisely because it opens up and broadens the horizons of human awareness, pointing us beyond ourselves to the abyss of infinity, can become a path towards the transcendent, towards the ultimate mystery, towards God. And I think that's, to me, is an idea of where the artist of sacred art, especially in the Catholic tradition, which I belong, is called to, in that higher calling, to be a vessel or a signpost for that, to try and draw people closer to that ultimate mystery towards God. And that's the inspiration for me.
And I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that there's a lot of people, non-Catholics of course, who make commentary about the fact that a Catholic church will have lots of imagery within it. That actually addresses that as being it's a transcendent invitation to go beyond the image.
Even a beautiful sunset, a beautiful sunset or sunrise, or a landscape, a beautiful landscape that we can see, different seasons in the year. All of nature around us all speaks of that transcendent, something beyond this existence that we are aware of to the senses.
Yes. In fact, it points to the fact that all people are artists in one way or another, in their perception at least, of understanding. Do you, or in your association with other artists who are in the sacred tradition, what do you find the common ground? Is there any common ground between you when in your conversation, in your interpretation? What do you talk about?
I think even for artists who don't necessarily come at it from a purely religious perspective, you share that common desire to express the beauty of the world that you see around us, or a truth about that world around us, or the life that we have, or the lives that people have. And that seems to be something that many, even great filmmakers, you see many of the great films that depict all different aspects of humanity, from death to love to violence, to the whole human story is depicted through all of that, and in literature as well. On all these arts do in one shape or form, there's that connecting thing that we all share, and I've noticed that we all have in common. When you think about it, we call the arts and literature the humanities.
Yes.
Because it tells us something about what makes us human. So a life without some form of art is a life that is in some way, in some form of darkness, or is impoverished greatly, because it enriches and it informs us and shapes the way our lives, the direction it can go, for good or for bad, whatever way we look at it. And so that's why art is so important, and for all these different artists for different religious perspectives, or different artists of none even, but there's an intuition within them that it will take us beyond just this existence, this existential reality that we live in, point us beyond something to something greater, and lift us, or even escape from our misery. Even if it does that, it's a form of escapism.
Yes.
It takes us out of the everyday humdrum through mere entertainment. It can be a little break from the drudgery of everyday life and all the things that beset us. So art is in so many ways it's a way or a gift that we're all given to enrich and enjoy life. How many people get excited when they hear about some new movie that's came out, or some new song or performance or concert that they went to? These are all forms by which it makes life bearable and gives us the will to live. Talking about having a will to live, that is what the great thing about art can do.
Yes, and I think the fact that there are audiences for all of it indicates that it does speak to an innate part of all people, and they need to express it either through surrogacy or directly. So there's an immense power. And you referred to iconography there before. Have you had much to do with icons? Have you?
Oh yeah, as an artist of more, in my own particular area, it would be more in the Western tradition. If people are aware of the names of Michelangelo and Raphael, and there would be more in the Western tradition of sacred art. So I kind of follow in that tradition, being from the West, a child of the West. But as you learn and you grow, you become aware of the great tradition of iconography in the East, and how it's an ancient tradition that predates the Western Latin Church's tradition of great sacred art. And it has such a beautiful and rich, again, full of symbolism and very, again, with very particular conventions that must be adhered to in its execution. Oftentimes icons will be depicted with a gold surround of the image, usually depicting Christ or the Mother of God, or the Mother and Child, the Blessed Virgin Mary with the infant Jesus, or saints. And the gold and the icons represents the divine realities which they are now living in.
Could I just interrupt you there, Tommy? Divine realities, time is a divine reality. So we'll be back. We'll be back in a moment.
We've all seen this one time or another. We may even have done it ourselves. But inhaling balloon gas is very dangerous and can be fatal. The helium in balloon gas acts as an asphyxiant, and when you inhale, it displaces the oxygen in your lungs. Balloon gas is safe in balloons and when you release it in a well-ventilated area and in a safe manner. So the next time you see some sucker about to inhale balloon gas, or you think it's going to be a laugh, stop and be gas-wise.
I was in my 40s when I was first diagnosed with bowel cancer. George, my son, was 6 years old at that time. These days, like people of his age, he's very busy, but he still needs to find the time to get to know his bowel cancer risk. Is that right, George?
Yes, Dad. Bowel cancer affects 1 in 12 Australians, young and old, and is our second biggest cancer killer. But if caught early, bowel cancer is treatable and beatable. My dad is living proof of that. So get to know your bowel cancer risk. Talk to your pharmacist or GP about screening. Protect yourself and the ones you love. Go to lovemyfamily.org.au.
If you choose to drink then drive,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's,
your family's,
or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Hallelujah.
You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Tommy Canning, and he's a contemporary sacred artist of the Catholic tradition. We were talking about icons before the break, Tommy. They actually are like a text, aren't they? They actually are read, more or less, an icon.
Yeah, the precise term for the icon is that the iconographer would write a sacred icon more than they would refer to it as a painting. It's a writing, because it essentially is the Word of God in a pictorial form, and it's done with very, as I say, very particular rubrics that must be adhered to for it to be an icon. And there's all those rules are generally followed. And a painter or a writer of icons would be someone who would pray and fast in that process of writing the icon. And it would be a very prayerful and meditative process of creation. And again, it is the pinnacle of sacred art, because the artist of sacred art is called, in the Catholic tradition and the tradition of Christianity from the ancient times, is called to a sacred ministry within the church, in a strict sense of that word, because he's imparting through those images. Icons are referred to as sometimes a doorway or a window into heaven, and so they help facilitate the person contemplating the divine realities which we believe exist beyond this physical realm and the afterlife in heaven. They are a window into that place. And so it also requires a certain fasting of the eyes, because the images don't depict a very sensual or naturalism or realism, which we see more in the Western tradition of art. The icons have a very particular look upon the physical, aesthetic look of the figures and faces. Oftentimes, in fact, most times, the icons will have direct eye contact with the viewer. The eyes of the icon are looking directly towards the viewer, but also at the same time they look as if they are gazing beyond, again, to the eternal realities that they are existing within. Whether it's the saints or a divine personage like God the Father, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, the Holy Trinity, the Mother of God. So they have very beautiful and very simple and yet very theologically sound. They help reinforce the doctrine and the theology of what the church teaches and what the Gospels pertain to in the sacred scriptures. And it is the pinnacle of great sacred art, because it is the most ancient. And a great thing that I read one time regarding all of that was by the great Carmelite saint of the 20th century, Blessed Edith Stein, who was the Carmelite nun who died in the concentration camps of Auschwitz. And she wrote about St. John of the Cross being not only a disciple of the Lord, but also as a sacred artist. And she quoted him as saying that a sacred artist cannot be satisfied with painting merely a religiously successful image and concluded that he's fulfilled his mission. But the artist of sacred art must also be equally open to God making something of the material of the artist's own life. So he's really calling for something deeper of the artist of sacred art to be called to.
How does that resonate with you in your experience? You must be very familiar with that process.
In one sense, you feel like, you may as well quit. Nobody can really, no eye, no ear has heard, no eye has seen. As St. Paul said, who can anyone really depict? And that's why we know in other religious traditions that, that is forbidden, because that's the idea that which mortal can really convey God or the truth of divinity by mere human hands. But we believe in our own tradition as Catholics that Christ came, he is the incarnation, he became flesh and dwelled amongst us. Therefore, we take our cue from that truth, that he became physical, he took on the form for the senses, so that we could see and feel and touch this divine reality. God himself became man and dwelled amongst us. He condescended to give his own life on the cross for our sake. And so that from that we then take, that's where really the church's understanding of why we have sacred art, why we have images, is to depict those realities of the incarnation, because we believe that God is not remote and distant, but is intimately concerned with the affairs of each and every one of us, and collectively as well. And so we try to depict those realities that as we see them as best we can, with the limitations that we have.
Yes. It's obvious that to be a free sacred artist, it would be best to be a Christian sacred artist, because there's more opportunity to depict the whole subject, apart from the face of God, that is.
Of course, it's limitless, really, when you explore all the various facets. It's like looking at a beautiful crystal with the light shining through it, and you get myriads of colours and facets. It's just it's an inexhaustible. We can never really exhaust it in this life. No. Many artists have tried to do as much as they can to explore and depict all the aspects of the faith which we profess, but even there you can't really exhaust the subject. It's limitless.
It's as infinite as God, and time isn't infinite, unfortunately. Stay with us, we'll be back after the break.
RSPCA, for all creatures, great and small.
Behind your favourite team, there's another team. At all levels, in all codes, sports trainers are working to make sport safer. Sports trainers learn injury prevention techniques from doctors and other health professionals, so they can provide the right first aid when the going gets tough. If your team could do with a sports trainer, maybe it's time you got a little closer to the action. Find out how you can become a sports trainer. Sports Medicine Australia, providing the team behind the team.
William Tyrrell was abducted from his nana's home on the New South Wales mid-north coast on the 12th of September 2014. And somebody knows who did it. Do you? There is a $1 million reward for information that leads police to William. That's 1 million reasons to make the call. Contact Crime Stoppers now. 1-800 333 000. Make the call.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Tommy Canning. He's a Christian contemporary sacred artist of the Catholic tradition. Tommy, in doing a little bit of research on this, I came across some articles which were bemoaning the fact that sacred art had taken a major dive, and you would find plaster of Paris Jesus and all sorts of things in churches. What's your view of that?
Yeah, this is something that has, in my own study and understanding and research and growth of knowledge of the subject that I've been working within, it's something that very gradually happened over many decades and maybe over the period of 100 years, and sort of mirrors what was going on and culturally as well in the world. But really, it has been an unfortunate thing. You could really trace it back to far back as the period of the Industrial Revolution, and with the ability to mass produce objects, the church at times often get caught into the machinery of buying off the shelf works of statuary and paintings and imagery, as opposed to commissioning great works of art. And that's the thing about great works of art, the great beauty or the significance of Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, for example, is that it is a one-off work of art. It's not a replica, it's not a duplication of anything else. It is a one-off piece of art, and that's the power in which it lies. Much of the power is because of that uniqueness of it. And this was a great tradition the church had for centuries. It was at one time known as the greatest patron of the arts. If artists wanted to enjoy being commissioned as artists and have much work to do, they could rely on the church for that support and encouragement, and they were given prime place in the church. Sadly, in the modern era, this is, again, going back to from the period of the Industrial Revolution and the aftermath which saw a decline in the commissioning of sacred works of art. And really it's something that was called for within the documents of the Second Vatican Council during the 1960s, which under the document called Sacrosanctum Concilium, there was a paragraph which actually called for academies of sacred art to be established within every diocese, and the bishop to oversee the training and formation of artists to be essential in the work of evangelization, the mission of the church to beautify and enhance the diocese and the churches within that. And it was very, very encouraging and exhorted the church to really take advantage of the talents, the creative talents at the local level, but give them the formation in the sacred arts to best serve their particular diocese. Now obviously there's practical considerations for all of that, but nevertheless it's there, and it's something that's never really been implemented, which is a great, for me it's a sad indictment on where we're at as a body of believers, that we oftentimes will pay hand over fist and invest a lot of money in areas which really, you could argue whether that they really do benefit or enhance the common good. We'll pay all kinds of money for, to beautify all kinds of things and places.
Yes.
But oftentimes within the church it's neglected or overlooked, or sometimes seen as a luxury we can no longer afford, that it was somehow necessary for those people back in the day who were illiterate and weren't able to read and write, and it was a way of communicating the truths or the simplicity in a way through images that we no longer need. We're somehow more advanced, but I don't think we're ever advanced to the point of advanced beyond the need for art. Again, as I said earlier, it takes us back to what makes us human.
Yes.
And I think when we see bad art in churches or in places of worship, it's a reflection of us ourselves that we don't value and appreciate, and should encourage these talented individuals to find that vocation within their own communities and not be off working for media and other places out in the world, which is good and fine. We need people in all areas of society, but oftentimes many people who would be able to serve the church through their talents are having to find many other ways to earn a living and use those talents, and sometimes they're taken away from, from the belief in the faith, because the spirit of the world can sometimes, have a powerful pull on their direction in life. So it's something we really neglected.
It is, isn't it? It sort of says that there's been a bit of a decline in the desire for transcendence, or the awareness of transcendency.
Yep, and Michelangelo, the great artist of the Renaissance, the Sistine Chapel, himself said it's not enough that we merely imitate the masters of old. He said we must seek to surpass them. And we've so advanced technologically in many other ways in the world today, and yet why are we not producing these great artists like Michelangelo in the contemporary world? Where are they? Where are they today? Is there such an absence? Why isn't there being an effort to encourage these artists to, find a place within the church once again? And I think that would help inspire and draw people to that which they depict, because these images in these great cathedrals and basilicas are centres of tourism, centres of pilgrimage. Because people love to see the beauty. They love to see beautiful. And it can often be a moment of conversion for many people.
Well, it was for you in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah. And if nothing else, it makes life that bit more bearable, that bit more beautiful. Beauty, as I said before, as Pope Benedict said, beauty, whether that of the natural universe or that that we see created, can be a pathway towards the transcendent, towards the ultimate mystery, and towards God.
Tommy, thank you. Our time has expired, but thank you for that brilliant elucidation of those transcendent elements of the Catholic faith and art in its connection.
Thank you, Norm.
Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
Here's to the straggly ones, the lopsided ones, the first ones, the I miss my beard ones, the hey, I look good with this ones, the he's never grown that in a week ones, the black, brown, red and grey ones, the oh whoa, that one, the itchy ones, the never forgotten ones, the ones grown by Dad, the ones grown for Dad, the started late ones, the absolutely filthy ones, the drawn on ones, the finger ones, the badge ones, the I nearly didn't do it this year ones, and the yeah, why not ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.com.
For interesting and informative interviews, join us for NAT Chat Monday nights at 8. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
The following program carries an MA classification and may contain adult themes and coarse language. MELfeed.video advises that it is suitable for viewers aged 15 plus.
great to be here. It really is. I feel very much like, Odysseus or something like that. I've been in Asia for about 20 years. Really, time flies more than you think it does. So I'd like to start with a little dedicatory poem to Sydney Harbour, where I spend a lot of time, and it's called Regatta. Out there in the still blue water, out there in the sparkling region, out there, 100 spinnakers smudge like wet paint, sweat for 2 tickets to Bermuda. But we are just steering our eyes into that fizzy horizon, that sparkling region where sea mirrors shine and gulls dive into a wider dimension. Out there in the still blue water, out there. Soon, girl of Sydney will be taking line honours, a froth kiss of champagne and oysters, and the yacht club will uncork its disco fervour until there's only a late night gull show playing out on the pylons. What remains is deep and breathless, a tongue more rapid than the first wild party of summer. Steer me into the precise taste of your saliva, the evening's glassy lustre. Knocked wine, waterfalls into the sea, regattas sag in the harbour. Steer me into the cool afterwards, the still blue water. Thank you.
This is called The Children and the World. The children go to school and they come back. They walk as a procession of little monarchies. Their daily orbits inscape the world. The children go to school and they come back. The world bites them at their shiny heels. The morning sun chooses every girl. The children go to school and they come back. There's much audience for the animal feats of boys, proficient in front of the fathers of the world. The children go to school and they come back, pondering the logical invalidity of siblings, the impossibility of shared matter and toys. The children go to school and they come back. They thread through bus stop crowds, ducking away from the swing of hands deadly jewelled. The children go to school and they come back, thrown loose on the world like homing pigeons, and returning in miracles, modest and mid-afternoon.
For Judy, sweethearted changeling. Do not throw away this act. Twirl it on the tip of your tongue like a cuneiform kiss, chiseled on the fold of your clay pot lips. Clasp it delicately in your alleluia palms, framed like a last ashen prayer, dreams dancing on hands in Hiroshima. The portal was holy, Pedro. Dita, the act was forbidden. Do not toss away this act. It will save us. Give a free pass to our imagination. Crush ready fluorescence illuminating chocolate body counts. This is creation. Too long these words have stood by lockers waiting for permission slips to enter the classroom, admiring with glass goggles petrified vein wardens who built these walls. Our creative center disinfected by chemicals. Our sanitized minds are throbbing with the puke we swallow for testing. The hand of Jesus is clutching Siddhartha's fingertips, breathing fire breaths, waiting for good Samaritans to notice the bare-knuckle grip on the dandelion weed 4 inches from the dug latrine. Round by round, ejected car-bound round, the chanting gets louder. Can't seem to make out the annoying jungle harmony scream interrupted the chant of UN-sanctioned peace. Wish it would be quiet. Report. Keep your validations in your scores. Report. AK-47s are as indigenous to Africa as the cradle of civilized culture is to Europe. Report. This projection isn't begging and halting, breath Latin to be changed. Let go, Jesus. TV reality does not profit off real salvation. Now you are enlightened. Let go. Do not throw away this act like fathers throw out their bathwater dreams. Do not throw away this act like revolutionaries throw away struggle. Do not throw away this act like wives throw away romance for security and legal status. Do not throw away this act like Americans throw away freedom for empire and ambush. Keep this like something you cannot understand, like grace. Keep this like Screaming Jay Hawkins, coffin, spit, spell, and Saturn rings, but how? Keep this like the colors we create in unison with retinal blood at orgasm. Keep this in memory like the Celtic spinal curve font spiraling infinity on your heirloom books. Do not throw away this act. I know your dreams are changing. Keep us like this act. This love is a changeling. Us is a verb.
A love poem. It's called Progress Report, which I thought was a very romantic title at the time. Weak by the minute, strong by the year. No exact way to judge our worthiness as subjects, objects, subjects in love. Mere bad weather can reduce us, as our impermanence can rouse us to endure. We tried cohibernation, consuming only time. Emerging topple-boned, our big smash-mouth love was like a bear's swipe, surprisingly precise. How did we refrain from eating each other, loosed from the black's clench, the one self-sent? Next model, co-moderation. We'll ration the bread we are to each other to outlast every war pent up in human nature. No matter how we persist, love's a lever we lower when we want to lift.
Come on, fellas. Let's get down there.
Hang on. Where's Dave?
Oh, hey, fellas. What do you think? Pretty cool, eh?
Real men look out for each other. Don't let your mates drink and drown.
Take it from me, one punch can be lethal. Thrown in anger like this, without warning, without any gloves, it can be deadly. One punch can end his life and ruin yours. It takes grunt to throw it, it takes guts to walk away.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage, because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
It's a great honour to be here, and it's wonderful to be in Fitzroy. It's a place I've read about in poetry over many years, and Pyo's poems and all sorts of people's poems. It's wonderful to be inside this room. I'm going to be presenting some work. It's a kind of retrospective. Back in the late 80s, I began seeing if I could write poetry in a slightly different way by writing it on screen using text and image and sound. I collaborated with a friend, a cameraman and film editor called David Cann, and we began putting these works together. We edited them on video. We shot in Super 8 and 16mm film, and then we transferred it to video. So I ended up calling them video poems. The first one we're going to see dates to 1988, and it all began with a random find on a beach of a piece of magnetic tape. And the soundtrack you will hear is actually coming from that piece of tape found on that beach. So, Lewis, let's roll Seaweed.
Locals here made the shocking discovery this morning. Police have sealed off the entire beach.
There is a killer. One of the worst killers in Australia. Skin cancer. Every year, skin cancer kills over 1,700 Australians. Don't be a victim. This summer, protect yourself against skin cancer.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetark.org.
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett. Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes. It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987. Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos. It was used everywhere. So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others. Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
It was a dark and stormy night in a bar over a strawberry margarita. Steve and Jacqueline had time to kill, so they decided to slaughter it. The result? 15 fabulous minutes. You be the judge.
The next one I made was back in about 1990, and it was inspired by a statue. In the departure lounge of Melbourne International Airport, there used to be a statue of Icarus, which is a very strange thing to put in a departure lounge of an international airport. I don't think it's there anymore. I think somebody finally read some Greek myths. Anyway, I noticed that as I was flying out of Australia over the Central Desert, I started writing a poem which was about flight and technology and what might happen if this plane we were all travelling on plunged into the desert, and we'd all be praying to different gods, I suppose. So religion came in there as well. And I recorded the piece with a performance troupe I had back then called the Drum Poets. Again, it started as a sound work first, and then we cut the images to it. And this one again was shot in Super 8 and 16mm. This is The Fall. Icarus in the departure lounge. Was it a mistake? Or some kind of statement in reverse? You do not risk a plunge like this, unnoticed by the workers in the field, who continued as before, though there had been this tiny human idea. The steel and drinks in plastic cups, so far from those spiral, mad, unworkable wings, the skin and bone, wooden ribs, and beeswax dripping yellow in the sun. They packed everything. The butter in silver foil, wrapping the individual. Embossed, irradiated, computer enhanced. The packets of sugar collected by maiden aunts for nieces and nephews waiting at the end of the long haul. The perfume and earphones and slippers and free fall. The hostess closed the oval blinds, saying, "It's time to watch the movie," which was Dumb American. While below a magic snake danced on red, and vegetation tangoed to the spirits of the dead, convincing you that the sand painters could fly. Scattered over 1,000 square miles, the Fino Rosso, drops of Sicilian red, the packets of butter left for bull ants, and lizards licking out Bibles with blue tongues, and the shawls of Jews hung hunched on termite mounds, and Allah's grey cassocks flying from a baobab. Lastly, a bottle of Christian Dior still uncracked, lying on a dune, just as foretold in the ad.
This is dedicated to a new friend who runs a poetry reading somewhere on the planet, or in the metasphere, let's say. Yes, this is a reading, an event that's been happening for many years, using 3D avatars. It's an online poetry gig, and it happens once a week, and it's very popular, and good stuff happens there. And it's a place called the Blue Angel Poets Dive, and the person who runs it, her name is, of course, Persephone. Most steady Iron Queen. I dedicate this to all poetry organisers, by the way. I know how hard it is to run these events and run poetry. Most steady Iron Queen, bluest angel among poets. When we step up each week to expose love's trickery, government's scams, or simply to flash our underwear in the name of art, humour us, please, because we recite what we've become. Shades in the dark blue shadowland seeking your kiss. Yes, we are the cyber poets. We are the poets of the dead. Otherwise, blue satin hostess, how to enter your realm? You call and we teleport down the soul's expressway from sunlight and beaches, streets of Big Ben or the Big Apple, passing over the Eiffel Tower or the Sydney Harbour Bridge with his red nipple winking off low-flying jets into this basement of dead singers in this borough of the blues. Dear angel of the cobalt kiss, keeper of the narcissus flower at midnight, you greet us, ghosts, as equals, skirted, suited, or in animal heads. We, the lost legion of berry pickers with blue-stained lips, will pay it forward with tips and applause in gratitude for this dim-lit Hades where we feel alive in our art. Although art is not life, perhaps it is some blue carbon of it, a silhouette of something that once was. We now pass it on in notes to prompt and remind that art still makes the best blue windows for departure into that sky of the blue continuous, like the paintings of Paul Celan, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Clair de Lune by Debussy, the Blue Mosque of Istanbul, and all the Pablo Nerudas who once said, "Tonight I can write the saddest lines, write, for example, the night is starry and the stars are blue and shiver in the distance." These are the shapes of things we've loved. We are the blue commentators. We are the taxidermists. We use old Egyptian honey glue to embalm what has passed from our hands, and then at a call we jump up, eager as sparks from the fire, into our finest moment under the spotlight to narrate love's cerulean sagas in our best indigo voices, week after week, through years and years of unrelenting blue. Dear Persephone of the Blue Angel, Poet's Dive, humour us like orphans and help us pass our nights. Indulge us as we dance on bar tops. Salve us, those who can never go home. Save us from despair, dear Proserpina. Offer us your best pomegranate juice, which is the true blue blood of the great dead poets, and let us all drink it down and live forever. Thank you.
Multi-faith and interfaith is all part of harmony in diversity. Every Monday night at 9. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Welcome to the 50th show. That's right, 50. 15 fabulous minutes has made it to 50. And I'm introducing you to our new two co-hosts. That's right, Sue Allen and Olivia Belvedere. They've joined the team and you've seen them through the season. But is it as easy as it looks?
No, Steve, it's not. You know, it's very hard being a co-host on this show. There are a lot of things that you need to learn how to do and to practice at to become a co-host. Let's have a look at some of those things. 5 main concepts that we need to practice. Okay, could you just run through those for us?
The number one, the precept out of the 5 precepts, number one is do not kill animals and do not encourage killing animals.
So you do not eat animals at all? You don't wear leather shoes?
No.
There's no sort of milk drunk, anything like that?
You have to go by step. If you are a vegan, you have to be dairy free. You can wear leather. Otherwise, like a vegetarian, they can get rid of eating animal flesh. That's the most important thing.
Vegetarianism is the main thing, but vegan is just sort of optional. If you
see what the second step of being a co-host on this show is.
The second one?
Second one, do not steal.
Well, that's pretty obvious. No one really goes around taking things like that. But what's the basic sort of foundation of that one?
That one, even now, if you have a pen in your bag, if I take that, then you feel, once you lose your pen, you feel very upset, you will be getting very sad. So everyone get a feel. Now, if it's a very valuable GTR 33 Skyline, costs about $50,000. These days, most of the cars are getting stolen.
Have a look at the next step, step number 3. But just watch the gentleman's eye, because he's talking about sex, but look at his eyes looking at Sue Ellen's chest.
So what about the third one?
The third one, do not have sexual misconduct. That means the married person can live with the wife. Even for a bachelor, not allowed to, without getting married, to have a bad way contact with a girl.
No hanky-panky, in other words. And the fourth one?
Do not lie. If a person
Don't lie.
You can do any wrong thing. If you are going
Steve would have a bit of trouble with this.
Yeah. Then the fifth one, do not take alcohol. But these days people say, the doctor says,
come on.
High cholesterol to take red wine. But every time when you take alcohol, the brain cells get damaged.
Well, what am I going to do? I can't have sex, I can't drink, I can't steal.
You can marry.
I can't have a chop.
You can marry and you can have all the things. You can have marry.
Well, they are tough rules to follow, but you think it'd only be us, but you know, it's not. The celebrities do stuff up quite a bit too. Check this out.
Okay. Hi, we're Kaylin and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes. You do it together? Yeah. Go. Hi, we're Kaylin and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes.
Alright. Hi, I'm Charlotte Dawson and you're watching... Sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Charlotte Dawson and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes. So that means fame for me, for you, for everybody. Everyone can enjoy that 15 minutes.
In 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Hey, I'm Leah McLeod and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes. Because you only have 15 and they are fabulous.
That's actually a half hour.
Oh, is
It's a
it?
half hour show.
Oh! Do that again.
That's cool. That's all right.
Well, as you can see, not all celebrities are as good as they look. Let's see how these other celebrities go. Take a shot.
From Big Brother, and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes on Channel V. Perverted people who watch us naked in the shower. We're on Channel 31.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching. No, I'll do that again.
That's so professional.
Yeah, no, all right. Hi, we're the people from that television show that you've been watching naked in the shower and playing volleyball. Keep watching Channel 31. See you.
Let's check out some of the outtakes from Steve's file.
Oh no, what are you saying?
Oh, well, Steve, you know, we always have trouble with you.
What was you actually thinking again? Cass. Well, we're now joined by... We're now joined by Babs, who you probably know as a former Prisoner star. And how did you enjoy the performance tonight?
I enjoyed it enormously. I had no idea what the show was about. I had no idea who was in it. I had no idea who was connected with it. And I thought it was stunning.
Well, I tell you, it's not the best way to get here, Jacqueline.
No, not the most glamorous way to turn up at the 10th Glam here at the Forum in Melbourne.
That's right, one of the many best... Oh, I keep on stuffing that up, but... Sorry. Bring us up, yeah, that was great. Oh my God.
The most glamorous way to turn up, and of course we're posting Steve's Glam.
Glam 10, that's right here at the Forum Theatre. Not a wonderful place to have a party, not a wonderful place at all. It's actually the best place to have a party. We should go in? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. not the best way to enter.
No parking.
No parking? Yeah, but how are we going to get home at 6 in the morning on our bikes?
Taxi.
Okay, I admit it, I got a few wrong. Everybody has those days.
Yeah.
And your day's going to be coming soon, so don't worry about it. But before we do that, it's not only us that stuff up, but it's also sometimes the people we interview. So let's take a look at these ones.
Chelsea, what is it about Bettina Liano jeans that makes them so good and so interesting?
Well, there's nothing actually specific about them. It's just that she makes her jeans so that they cut well. No, sorry, I can't do that.
I've started this, haven't I?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, too many flip-flops, which I've tried to accommodate here. Keep the flip-flops upstairs, so.
Flip-flops, and they're coming in and they're really big.
I don't know, you make the fashion. There's no trends to follow.
So where do you see Amarillo going in the future? What do you see your store being?
We'd like to do a department store, turn it into a little department store. We're going to do men's next season, and you're making me act really serious.
Got it.
Where's the BS?
Okay, now it's time to check out a couple of the archives. We're going to check out Jacqueline and the old episodes. I guess you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to come by.
Misty, you were here last year, and last year you were a model, but this year, of course, you're a designer. How did you find it?
Model too. Do you think I wear my hair like this?
Fair enough. Yep, good point. What have you been seeing so far?
Break dancing. What's it for?
For TV, so talk and say something a bit interesting. Talk!
Yeah, we've seen drunk people.
Okay, flash this stick at us.
And I'm going to America as well. I just want to travel really and relax a little bit. This year's been pretty full on and blah, 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 blah.
Yada, yada, yada. You've enjoyed it nonetheless, I'm sure.
I have. Have a good day.
Yeah, you've been a great example to the kids, actually, spoken all the way through that. But you're obviously holding that for someone else, aren't you?
I am. It's not mine.
We did a show about people and their pets down Ackland Street. Meanwhile, I'm getting totally licked out. Jacqueline.
Oh, Steve! Don't say that!
Okay, we'll just sorry. Let's have a look at the tape.
How do you keep this one still? Here we go. Oh, it's shaking my paw. I think you're a crazy dog. You're a crazy dog. You're a very, very crazy dog. And I think it's giving me a bath.
That'd be the first for you, Steve.
Oh, you're like licking my ear.
I can't concentrate with you. I cannot concentrate with you too, you know that?
Okay, well, you know, I'm enjoying the show.
We're going to check out a little bit more of the archives a little later on in the show with Jacqueline, but here's a little bit of what we've been doing, or what we plan to be doing in the future on 15 Fabulous Minutes. It's our show reel.
You think you Miss World, right? Yeah?
Oh, I don't think I know.
Hi, I'm Nick Theodopoulos and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes.
Scissors? Anybody with scissors? Hairdryer? Look, I'm taking tips from the professionals because I can't cook if my life depended on it.
It's absolute bliss to be on 15 Fabulous Minutes.
So I hope you didn't kill that animal, cook it, saute it and serve it.
It's not real, it's all fake.
I don't know, just maybe because Sydney's better.
Oh, now I beg to differ. The door is that way.
Let's get up there, have a couple of drinks, walk around the circle and you're off.
alegría Macarena, Macarena, ay. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para darle alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena, ay.
So what brings you to Australia in general?
I'm doing a promotional tour for Long Came Spider.
Tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena, ay.
And I used to model before I got into Neighbours, so...
So you're an old pro, really?
Oh, yeah, old, very old pro.
Macarena.
Hi, I'm Judge Bowles. You're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes.
We can't talk about fashion.
You can't talk about fashion?
I find it very difficult.
People in Melbourne do. They have an amazing amount of style. Like they dress beautifully, always immaculately presented.
Hi, this is Wendy Matthews.
There'll be more right after the break, or will there? Have a look at these after the break, and after the break bloopers. If they, well, we can get it right.
What?
What?
Madam Palmer's predicts.
That we'll be back after the break. For another 15. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Guess what?
What?
Madam Palmer's predicts that
We'll be back after the break in about... Fuck. That's an end to another fabulous 15 minutes here at the Melbourne 2000 Wedding Expo. I've met the man of my dream. You idiot. That's all right.
Welcome back. That's right. We're on the second half of our fabulous blooper show, and of course, getting ready for the show. There's a lot of grooming to do. Now, it's not just me and the two lovely ladies, because you two were born beautiful.
Aww, Stephen!
And I can work them all the time.
He loves us.
Now, have a look at this as our crew members are getting ready to look good behind the camera. These are some of the behind the scenes to our favourite little song. What is it? The Macarena. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Macarena!
Alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Macarena tiene un novio que se llama de apellido Vitorino. Y en la jura de bandera del muchacho se la dio con dos amigos. Macarena tiene un novio que se llama de apellido Vitorino, y en la jura de bandera del muchacho se la dio con dos amigos. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Macarena, 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 que te gustan los veranos de Marbella. Macarena, 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 que te gusta la movida guerrillera. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena.
17-year-olds you find spend their time shopping, home, on the internet, all right. Okay. All right. Most 17-year-olds you find spend their time shopping, home. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Okay. Most 17-year-olds you find spend their time shopping, home. Yeah. Most 17-year-olds spend their time home, shopping on the internet, hanging out in the mall, going to the footy, but not our James. Now, how did he land this gig? Yum! Well, it's good to see that Yum! Well, it's good to see that James is keeping his cast members well nourished.
You have to be careful with some words that you use, especially when you're talking to the public. Sometimes we can sort of, accidentally say a few things that, might have a bit of a double meaning. Let's check this one out from Olivia.
I'm excited. I'm such a big Neighbours fan. And what are you doing in the show tonight?
I'm actually wearing a Judy Bannister. Yeah, so it'll be great.
Excellent. And how did you get roped into all of this?
Well, I did it last year as well, and the organisers asked me back, and my roommate Fiona Horn's doing it as well. And she's wearing
Excellent.
14, so it's a lot of fun, and I used to model before I got into Neighbours, so...
So you're an old pro, really?
Oh, yeah, very old pro. Thanks a lot.
Do we have to go there?
You're a bit of an old pro yourself, aren't you?
Funny, that is. Okay, look.
This is not the first time either.
It's not the first time. I didn't mean it. It was
Have
so
a look.
embarrassing.
Have a look at this second clip where she persists in calling people pros.
I didn't mean it.
You excited?
Yeah, excited. Yeah, a little tired, but excited.
Excellent. What time did you start here this afternoon?
9 o'clock.
Wow, that early with the costumes and the makeup and
yeah, rehearsing and yeah, quite early.
Excellent. Are you considered a pro, or is this one of your first modelling gigs?
I want to consider myself a pro, but I want to consider myself a pro, but not. I want to consider myself a pro, but not.
Old pro, really. Old pro, really.
Yeah, do you have a bit of foot and mouth disease there?
You wait till we get to yours, buddy. It's all over. It's all
We
over.
haven't checked out your bloopers yet,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
we're picking on Olivia.
What? No.
No.
Innocent.
Now, I actually want to know what this next clip is all about.
How do you find cooking for the family, being a big mum? Being a big mum. Being a big mum.
I can't believe you did that.
Thank you.
Okay.
You were innocent though, you poor
Explain
darling.
yourself.
Don't you see the halo?
Explain
yourself.
Explain yourself.
She had kids next to her and actually meant her to be a mother as a birth mother.
What? You still haven't put yourself... Please explain, as a big mother, she's a birth mother. You're still saying she's
No,
a birth mother.
she had multiple kids. See?
A big family.
Big family. Sue gets it. You need to be a mum or a female to get it.
Family.
I'm sure she got it. I think it's time that she got it
Yeah, she
all
got
right.
it all right.
Now I think it's time to pick on Sue.
And we're here today with Sarah from Fat272. How are you going?
Good, thank you.
And, yeah. Okay. Okay. We're here today on Chapel Street asking people what's the most they've ever spent on an item of clothing. So let's see what's the most.
Again.
Asking people on the streets of Chapel Street what's the most they've ever spent on an item of clothing. So let's just see what we can find out. Just see what Sarah O'Hare thinks is so... No, it doesn't work.
Well, I want to know why Sarah had...
Yeah, okay. I want to know why Sarah O'Hare finds Bettini Liano's the best jeans. Let's see what's... I can't do it. I want to know why Sarah O'Hare thinks Bettini Liano's jeans are so... You wouldn't think it'd be this hard now, would you? Sometimes on this show we also need to call 911 or 000.
It all gets me dangerous.
It can be a bit dangerous. Let's check out some of these ones.
Have a look at this.
High five, yeah? A wave. You ready? Stand up. You ready? Yeah? Oh, I'm going to stand up. Okay, stand up. Yeah.
As you can see, you have to warm up, but make sure before you sit down that the seat is down. Ooh.
Yeah. Why are you making that noise?
Now we're going to dive back into the archives and have a look at some clips from the yesteryears.
What a place. Where are we?
Oh wow, we're at the Royal Art
No, Melbourne Exhibition.
Royal
Rolly. What a place. Where are we, Olivia?
Wow, we're at the Melbourne Arts Centre.
For Royal Riot. Let's check out this nightclub and event. Non-smoking, by the way.
Here in the Family Circle Pavilion, we have got classics. I did. Oh. Classics here, classic cookery from Australian country chefs. We've got some yo-yos, we've got lamingtons, we've got little fruit mince pies, we've got... No, I don't know what else. What is Anzac cooking? So I have to prepare first. Anzac cookies. Well, I don't know. Okay. Oh, shut up. Classics of Australian cookery are being displayed here. We've got iced Vovos, we've got yo-yos, we've got lamingtons, we've got some Anzac cookies. That's absolutely phenomenal. You enjoying the game?
Fantastic.
You're a Saints supporter?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Do you support any football at all?
Collingwood.
Collingwood, there you go. Are they playing today?
No.
They're not.
I'm going to shoot.
Okay, fine, but I've just been told to bugger off, so... No, they're not.
I'm going to shoot.
Okay. No, they're not.
I'm going to shoot.
Okay. Recreating some of those fantastic outfits. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Now, you're going to be telling us a bit about the fashions on the goldfields. And, well, let's start with what the women were wearing with this crinoline. What was the whole concept?
It's crinoline.
Crinoline. Jill. How are you, Jill? Fantastic. Now, this is a crinoline.
And underneath your gown is a hoop. Do you want to just lift it up and show them? Or, as it was called, a crinoline, which is the French word.
This is an adults-only program. If you are tuned in and you are under the age of 30, I suggest you switch off right now.
You know they'll all turn on now.
I know. Ratings. That's it. We just got the ratings right there. Here's Steve. He's missing. Better for us. It's all good. It's all very, very good. And Islander. No wonder Joanne missed them. Goodness gracious. Check out what he's doing with them.
Have you noticed this palm? It's yellow. It's fake suntan lotion. In order to keep the Islander look, and
really a white man.
It's white. That is yellow. That is a yellow palm. You're cheating.
Yellow twisties last night. I was watching a nice video.
Huh?
You sure that's fake tan?
No, but there is some blisters on there. There's a lot of... Look at those calluses on there. I mean, you're working it, aren't you?
That's bad. You check the left hand. It's called two hand, man.
I think Steve's a bit of a wanker.
Check out this one.
I always thought I had a really good palm.
Yes.
Minus the calluses.
Yeah, you have a very strong determination, and you know your thumb is very strong. So that means you're very logical. And
I just went to the toilet break. What's been happening?
Yeah, toilet break.
I was at the toilet. What's going on?
Yeah.
You girls still doing the show without me? Well, I've got a list of bloopers still here for us to see, and we're going to have a look at them.
Right now.
I'm cooking satay chicken and beef and meat bread roll and dim sim and
Okay, I've kind of lost my dog a little while ago. Have you seen it?
I can't see.
No.
At a fashion show, would I ever meet a massageist? Is that what you are?
Yes, masseur. I'm a
masseur.
Masseur. Masseuse.
A masseuse? Please.
A masseuse.
A masseuse or a masseur?
A masseur.
Masseur? Masseur or masseuse?
Well, that's another end of a 15 Fabulous Minute show. It's sad. It's very funny though, I must say. You're really good at stuffing up.
I am.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to
be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, so we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help them. Join a Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say good day. You've got a friend.
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it. It's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
The tax office can take money directly out of people's accounts, but you're not allowed to know. The elderly are being abused and neglected in nursing homes, but you're not allowed to know. The government can raid journalists for reporting the truth if it says you're not allowed to know. It couldn't happen in Australia. It's happening now. When the government hides the truth from you, what are they covering up? Authorised by Australia's Right to Know, Sydney.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash, maybe even from heart disease, maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.